Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Now remember, it's full contact. There are 3 ways to win. 1, you knock your opponent out. 2, the other guy quits and shouts Mate. It's like saying uncle. 3, you throw the right off the runway. Welcome back. You are listening to 3 Guys in a Flick. This is where we review the good, the bad, and the absurd. Tonight's episode, Bloodsport. Beware spoilers. Coming to you from a secret location in Hong Kong, my name is Don. And to my right, we have our comic book guy, John. How you doing, pal?
I ain't your pal, dick face.
Okay. And to my left, we have the professor, Ken.
That hurts me just looking at it.
Ouch. How you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
Good. Tonight, we are entering round 5 in the best classic 80s movies according to the 3 guys. Last week, we did Lone Wolf McQuade. That was Chuck Norris. And then we did Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze. And then we did The Running Man with Arnold. And then we kicked everything off with Cobra, Stallone, right? So naturally, at some point, we had to get to a Jean-Claude Van Damme. John, how many movies did Jean-Claude have in the 80s?
He did 5 action movies in the 80s. He started with 1986 with No Retreat, No Surrender. In 1988, he did Bloodsport and Black Eagle. And in 1989, Cyborg and Kickboxer.
I'm going to just go ahead and back you up. Van Damme, not Dom.
I thought it was Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Damn. Van Damme. Isn't it? Van Damme? What is it, Professor?
I thought it was Van Damme.
I need a ruling here.
I thought it was Van Damme.
All right.
Okay. I always said Jean-Claude Van Damme.
And so we get to Jean-Claude Van Damme. And, you know, he has these 5 movies in the 80s. And I think that Bloodsport's the best one.
For the 80s, yeah.
For the 80s, right. Because I personally don't think Van Damme peaks until the 90s.
Now, wait a minute. You like that better than No Retreat, No Surrender?
Dude, come on. First of all, he's in No Retreat, No Surrender for like maybe 30 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Bloodsport, he's in it for more than 30 seconds.
He was in it long enough for me to own it. I still, actually, if you go into my garage, I've got the actual VHS tape for No Retreat, No Surrender.
The only reason why you still have that tape is because you never threw it away and you're too lazy to throw it away.
And I'm proud to say I got it out of a Blockbuster, one of those bins that they had everything marked way down.
If anybody doesn't know what a Blockbuster is, look it up. Professor, were you a fan of Jean-Claude Van Damme back in the day?
Yeah, I enjoyed him in his... It started with this, and then him in his early 90s stuff. You know, the Lionheart, Double Impact, Universal Soldier, Time Cop, you know, those early 90s. You know, they're schmaltzy movies, but they're a guilty pleasure.
Sure.
And Bloodsport is definitely a guilty pleasure for me.
I say that Bloodsport is his best film in the 80s. However, I really did enjoy Kickboxer and Cyborg. So, I mean, I've been a fan of Jean-Claude way back when as well. You know, so growing up, we had this kind of dynamic, right? You had Stallone and Schwarzenegger, right? And then Van Damme comes out, and I guess his counterpart we thought would be Patrick Swayze, but it wasn't. Not really Chuck Norris, because Chuck Norris is old school, right? Steven Seagal. So it was always a Van Damme movie or a Seagal movie. Mm-hmm. Are you a Beatles or an Elvis, right? And I was always team Van Damme. And so going back to watch Bloodsport, I had a lot of fun with that.
Did you ever want to see them both in a movie head to head?
Yes, until you find out what a real douchebag Steven Seagal actually is. Mm-hmm. So, you know, anything after, what was the one where he was a Native American, like Marshall or something?
Something ground.
On hollowed ground, underground, something ground?
On something ground.
I think the movie before that.
On sacred, no.
Was it Sacred?
I don't know.
God, if only we had this device. The one before that, I think, is Under Siege 2.
Yeah, probably.
I think that was his last decent.
Okay.
And I use that term very loosely. Film.
He lost me after Under Siege. I don't think I watched another Seagal movie after that. I liked Under Siege, but all the rest of them just all blended together.
I think my favorite Seagal movie is Hard to Kill. But that is a different topic for a different time. And I'm not sure if Steven Seagal made this list because I think he only had
90s.
one movie in the 80s.
Above the Law.
Yeah, and I think any of the movies that are on our list of 10, way better than Above the Law.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think so too.
So, I feel our list is justified. What is your favorite Jean-Claude Van Damme movie?
I was thinking about that, and where I always go to first is Bloodsport.
Interesting.
If you take Bloodsport out, though, which would you say is your next favorite? Do you have a preference?
No, because the rest of them, they were kind of sort of one and done.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
For me, of course, Bloodsport's always the top one, but I actually felt like Lionheart showed off a little bit of his acting chops in that, the whole family scenes and all that. And I thought that's not, even though it is, again, same vein, almost like a remake of, Kickboxer and Bloodsport and all that, I really go back to Lionheart.
Lionheart's a great flick. I'm not going to fucking lie.
Yeah.
I think my favorite Jean-Claude Van Damme movie is either Time Cop or Hard Target. I really enjoyed Hard Target. His Cajun accent is fucking atrocious, and I love it.
And his hair.
Yeah,
and fucking hair, bud.
And Time Cop, that's kind of a fun watch. Yeah. Universal Soldier, Dolph Lundgren.
I fucking forgot about you. Absolutely, Universal fucking Soldier for sure. Death Warrant, I didn't mind Death Warrant, and Sudden Death when it's Sudden Death is Die Hard at a hockey arena, and Death Warrant is Die Hard in a jail. So,
do you know who else was in Death Warrant with him?
In Death Warrant?
Yeah, from Bloodsport.
Was it Chong Li?
Paco?
Oh, Paco was in it?
Yeah, he apparently was in that movie too.
Nice.
Yeah, you have a couple of these characters showing up in other Jean-Claude Van Damme movies.
Yeah. I can tell you the one I absolutely fucking hate. There's two of them. Actually, there's probably more than that. But off the top of my head is Simon Says, the one he's in it with Dennis Rodman.
Oh my
Fucking
God.
atrocious.
Yeah.
And then the Double Impact, the one where he plays twins.
I was wondering, some people love
That
that
was
movie, some people
lame.
just hate that movie.
Yeah. And then as he got older and into the late 90s, it kind of got worse. After Nowhere to Run with Rebecca De Mornay, he just kind of fell off the map there.
Yeah, he put a bunch of clunkers out there.
Absolutely.
I know I've asked you this before, but have you ever seen his streaming series that came out? They had like one season.
No, I'm going to check it out though.
It's actually pretty funny because he's almost basically playing himself if Jean-Claude was secretly a secret agent.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got to say, I do enjoy him in The Expendables 2. I like him as the bad guy. I thought he was good. This film was released on February 26, 1988, directed by Newt Arnold, screenplay by Christopher Cosby, Mel Friedman, and Sheldon Littich, based on the life of Frank Dukes. And it stars Jean-Claude Van Damme, Donald Gibb, Leah Ayres, Norman Burton, Academy Award winner Forrest Whitaker, Bolo Yeung, Philip Chan, and a bunch of other actors.
How'd this movie do, Don?
This movie was made for $2 million, and it brought in $50 million.
Not too bad for a movie around then.
No.
Especially a martial arts movie. I don't think they were pulling in a lot back then.
No. And we get movies later on that are clearly paying homage to Bloodsport or the type of tournament film that it was. So this movie brings in $50 million back in 1988, which is not a bad haul considering, it was only made for two. But I do think that it does become one of those 80s action films that we've been talking about. And so it made the list because it met some of, if not all of, the criteria that we kind of look at or that we kind of keep in mind when we're watching it.
What is that criteria, Don?
The must-haves for the 80s action movies that we're talking about, they are a movie macho hero with quotable one-liners played by a recognizable star, over-the-top villain, a montage sequence, over-the-top chase scenes, an epic fight scene, a villain speech or monologue, a final showdown, an oh crap death for our bad guy, franchise potential, around a 90-minute runtime, a high body count, and a cool ride. I think that this movie kind of checkmarks some of those.
Yeah, I think it actually hits most of those.
Yeah.
Most of those goals. Although, like, in some of it, we have to kind of give it a little bit of space. You know, the bad guy doesn't really die in this movie, but does get a pretty big, oh crap, defeat scene.
Yeah, but I mean, you talk about that, and really nobody dies in this film. There's one death, right? So there's not a high body count.
Mm-mm.
But I think the action and the tournament make up for it. You know what I mean? Because instead of high body count, we should have said high knockout count. Right?
For this movie specifically.
That's what I just said.
Yeah, for martial arts movies, they don't tend to have a lot of death scenes unless you're like getting to the really, really campy ones. But a lot of knockout fight scenes, yeah.
U.S. Army Captain Frank Dukes has trained in the ways of Nujitsu under his sensei, Senzo Tanaka. As a boy, Dukes and a group of his friends broke into Tanaka's home to steal a katana. But Dukes was apprehended while returning the katana to its place. Impressed by Duke's integrity and toughness, Senzo decides to train him alongside his son, Shingo. After Shingo's death, Senzo trains Dukes as a member of the Tanaka clan. Dukes is invited to the Kumite, an illegal martial arts tournament in Hong Kong. After his army superiors refuse to let him go, Dukes goes absent without leave, says goodbye to his sensei, and leaves for Hong Kong. 2 criminal investigation command agents, Helmer and Rollins, are assigned to track down and arrest Dukes.
The actor who plays Senzo Tanaka, he looked so familiar for me. I kept trying to think where I could place him, and where is he from?
I just did. As soon as you said that, I didn't even think about that last night. Do you know who he is?
I've seen his face.
He's been in a bunch of things, but what do we know him from?
Nice try, Lao Che.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Dr. Jones.
yeah.
Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Good call. Good pull. I didn't even fucking put that together until you said that.
I had to go look him up, and I looked at all of his movies, and I'm like, oh my God, he was in Temple of Doom.
Yeah, for sure. This movie opens like any movie in the 80s, right? You get credits, and during the credits, we are introduced to our fighters.
Yeah, we get to know them. We get to see that little training montage. We get our first montage.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that counts because it's the opening credits.
Yeah.
So,
did you have a favorite one? Besides Jean-Claude Van Damme, did you have a favorite fighter?
you mean Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
I kind of liked Paco.
Paco I liked him too.
Yeah. And I have to say, yeah, probably just Paco, really.
I don't know why. I always was drawn to the guy with the monkey fighting style.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you'd hop around, and I love it because he hops in a tree.
Yeah, and cuts off all the coconuts.
Yeah, and he fucking shatters the coconuts.
Mm-hmm.
That dude's tough. Yeah, so it opens, and we find out that Dukes is in the army, and, you know, we know that there is this illegal tournament that's going to happen. You can kind of get that by the credits because they're getting the arena ready. The fighters are getting ready. Is this... What song is this? Isn't the Kumite song, is it?
No,
this is your opening credit song, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Yeah. I don't think it's anything memorable or anything like that. So Dukes goes to see his sensei, and we get all of the backstory at once. And you know what? Thank you. What I will say about Bloodsport right off the bat, it's paced very well, and it moves. You know what I mean? I blink and we're already in the third fucking round. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So that's what I liked about it.
One of the great things about this is one of your requirements is that it needs to have a 90-minute runtime. This movie came in at 92 minutes, so it was almost hit that mark.
Yeah, well, hey, I know what I'm fucking talking about. And the more, if you guys would just listen to me, I think your movie-going experiences would be enhanced.
From now on, I am going to look at movie runtimes, and if it's over that mark, I'm skipping it.
Yeah, just fucking done with it. Done with it. Well, only during this segment, though, because, I mean, there's films out there that are pretty fucking good that are like 3.5 hours. So Frank Dukes is a young kid, and him and his buddies break into
They didn't break in. They just opened the window.
They went to, well, it's a breaking and entering.
Well, what did they really break, though?
They didn't break anything.
They entered.
They entered.
Yeah.
And
They
then
trespassed.
and then as soon as they hear
Yes, they
somebody coming,
trespassed.
they drop their stuff immediately.
And why?
Why not just take it?
I don't know. That's a good question. Why not just take it? Plot convenience.
Yeah, and why is Frank wearing a Giants football jersey but a San Francisco baseball hat?
Good question.
I don't get that.
The kid probably got the part and came to set, and that's what he had on. And the director was like, fuck it, just put him in there. Put him in there.
I kind of thought that maybe, to prepare himself for the role, he just watched some Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, and then that's his impression of a Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, well, he would only have at that time probably No Retreat, No Surrender to use as a reference. So who knows?
Because he delivers his lines just about as well as Jean-Claude Van Damme. Boy, I got to say, it's a toss-up. Who sounds more halting in their delivery of their lines, the young or the old Frank Dukes?
Oh, I'm going to have to say the old. Because the young, he lucks out. He only got like 4 lines, right? Him and his buddies steal the sword. His buddies ditch him. He's trying to put the sword back. Tanaka comes in with his son. The son kicks him, and you think they're in Call the Cops, whatever. But this is setting up our story. This is introducing us to the sensei and to the students. Tanaka talks to Frank, and he says, why were you're trespassing? I'm going to call the cops, whatever. And, the kid, Frank is just like, I'm going to steal it. Yeah, sometimes it's just hard to do.
I always wondered, and watching the movie over and over again, I thought they dubbed in his voice. It didn't look like it matched up right to me.
There is a lot of there are a lot of sections in this movie where the voices do not match, and it drives me up the fucking wall.
Did they dub Chong Li's voice?
Did they give him a voice? Did you notice when he gets all excited? No audio whatsoever comes out of him.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, yes, I'm sure they probably did Chong Li's voice. So Frank gets caught, and him and Tanaka come up with an arrangement. Tanaka is going to train Frank in the ways of the ninjutsu and train with his son, Shingo.
Basically be a punching bag at first.
And, and that kind of makes sense, right? You're training your kid to be the best. He's got to fight against somebody, so you get this kid. I forgot about the scene where Tanaka goes and asks Frank's parents permission.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot all about that scene because when the little shit was breaking into the house, sorry, Professor, when the little shit was entering the house through an open window, I was thinking, where the fuck is this kid's parents? Right? I thought maybe he came from a broken home and I was giving him this big backstory. I was being John.
Well, being horrible about it, when I first saw him and I saw this clothes not matching, I thought maybe he had just gotten to this country and they went shopping at Goodwill for clothes for him. And so they just found some random clothes for him.
Yeah. So I didn't expect this kid to have parents is my point. But they do. And every now and again, we'll cut back to a close-up of Jean-Claude. Right, because
the camera slowly zooms in on him.
Right, we have to continue.
Present day, flashback.
we have to tell the audience that Jean-Claude is thinking very deeply about his shidoshi, and we cut back, and they're doing their training, and it turns out you were right, John. Tanaka just wanted to use Dukes as his kid's punching bag. And Dukes is like, fuck that, I don't want to do this, or deals off, whatever. And then we cut to, naturally, the school where the little Shingo's getting bullied, and Frank comes and saves the day. Could that scene, or could that fight scene, if you want to call it that, could it be any slower?
I agree. It was a little slow. That, and I kept thinking, Shingo's been training longer than Frank. He's grown up in this thing. And he's the one that's getting his ass kicked, and Frank comes in and saves him?
Yeah. I mean, so right there, you have to wonder to yourself, did any of this really happen?
Mm-hmm.
So they stand up, they become friends, and this is where Frank first learns about the Kumite, I believe. Because Shingo tells him, I'm going to train and win the Kumite for my father because it's the greatest honor. And, they shake hands. And then we cut to now Jean-Claude is Jean-Claude. I mean, he's Frank, right? We find out that Tanaka's son has died and that Jean-Claude wants to be trained. And now we get to the montage. And, training montages in action films are fucking fantastic. They're one of my favorite reasons to watch an action film. I love the editing. I think growing up and watching these films kind of sparked my love for editing, and montages had a lot to do with that. What'd you guys think of this montage of him getting ready?
Every time I watch it, it's just an enjoyment to see all the little things and all the things you can pick up on, like the fact that he does the splits earlier on, but later on it hurts him to do it when they put him in the ropes, the little fish sequence, the T sequence. I like the whole thing.
Yeah.
For me, I found it amusing having Frank hit the mat so many times. It shows him hitting the mat like 9 times in a row, like boom, 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 boom.
And when it first starts, the camera zooms in on Tanaka, but he doesn't do anything. He just moves, and then it cuts to Frank hitting the mat. And it cuts back to Tanaka, and the camera zooms in, and he doesn't do nothing, and we cut to, Frank hitting the mat. So it really is a progression, right, of Frank's skills. When we first start, he can't fucking touch him. Right, he keeps hitting the mat, and when we're done, he's blindfolded, serving them all tea, and he catches a punch that Tanaka throws at him, which is one of my favorite parts of this film.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but I just kind of go, oh, that's fucking dope, right? Then we get to the tree stretching scene.
But would you say that the blindfold might have been foreshadowing?
Oh, for fuck's sakes!
That is. Why did you teach him that word?
You know what? Why do madmen do what they do? I don't know, bud. God, I fucking regret that so much.
Well, I figured the way this movie was going, either it was foreshadowing that he was going to have to do something blinded later on in the movie, or he was going to have to catch a fish.
But he does both, kind of, right?
Well, he doesn't catch the fish. Only Tanaka catches the fish.
No, we see him catch a fish.
No, they show him later on he catches a fish as well.
Yeah. Well, hold on. We'll get
But
there.
maybe he caught the big guy's balls or something later on. I don't know.
So yeah, now we get to the tree stretching scene. And I think that for some reason, in every Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, when he's a fighter of some sort, he has to do the stretching scene where he stretches himself into the splits.
Always tied to.
Yeah. Very much into bondage, I guess.
Yeah. How many
Could be
times
fun.
does Jean-Claude Van Damme do his trademark splits in this movie?
7 times.
7 times.
7 times. And those funny because those are some of my favorite bits. And growing up to see someone do that and then, do all those kicks and the high flyers, pretty fucking impressive.
Yeah, was it a kickboxer too? I think they did the tied off thing as well.
Yeah, well, that's what I was trying to get to way back when we were talking about it. There's a scene in Kickboxer just like that. Mm-hmm. And I think my favorite scene in Cyborg is when they're searching for him and he's doing the splits over the thing and he's holding the knife up like that. That's a dope shot. But I digress. So as he is remembering, we see him become the fighter that he is, and then he gets to go say goodbye to his mentor. And, he's determined to do this. There's nothing that's going to stand in his way because he is a captain in the army. And before he goes to see his Shidoshi, his uppers want to see him because they know he's going to go fight in Hong Kong. And they're like, bullshit, you're a fucking property of the United States government. You're not going anywhere, buddy. But he does anyway. After arriving in Hong Kong, Dukes befriends American fighter Ray Jackson and their guide, Victor Lin. When they arrive at the Kumite Arena, the officials are skeptical but eventually accept them after Dukes proves his connection to the Tanaka clan by performing the Dim Mak, Death Touch. Dukes earns the scorn of the ruthless Kumite champion Chong Li after breaking his record for the fastest knockout. So this movie moves pretty quick, like I was saying, right? He leaves Tanaka. We're already in Hong Kong. He's on the bus, and this is where we get to meet his buddy Jackson, played by Donald Gibb. What do we know him from?
Revenge of the Nerds.
Revenge of the Nerds. That's over.
He's actually been in a lot of things. TV show. He was on Night Court. He appeared in a lot of TV episodes, always playing a biker guy.
Oh, for sure. For definitely typecast. So they go to the hotel, they get their guide.
Well, they're playing that Street Fighter game at first. What do you think of that whole bonding with the Street Fighter game?
It wasn't Street Fighter.
Well, it was
it was Kung Fu.
You know,
I played that game all the fucking time. Or no, maybe it was Karate Champion. I think it was Karate Champion.
I think you're right.
Yeah. That was a cute bit.
Did you notice that what it said up in the upper right corner of the game?
What did it say?
While they're both playing, it says 1-player game.
Oh, well, it appears that he only puts one coin in, even though he tells, Frank, don't worry about it. I want to take your money, So there's this little bit. What did you guys think about the relationship between Dukes and Jackson?
Well, they first introduced Jackson kind of as, I thought he was kind of a jerk in the beginning, the kind of way he was talking to the woman on the bus. So I thought, oh, is it just going to be, a side character? But no, it seemed to work out pretty well. I liked their interactions.
Yeah, so did I.
I thought that he was amusing on the bus. He's talking to that girl and, maybe she just doesn't know English.
He's just being a loud American, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I kind of chalked it up to as well. So they meet, they kind of hit it off, and then they meet their guide for the North American fighters,
Lynn.
I guess. Lynn.
Oh, and also briefly, we are introduced to Janice at the hotel bar. She's wanting to know about the fight, but the guys aren't talking.
That's
What's
right.
it, Hussein, I think she was talking to?
No,
Not at this point. This is someone else.
That's
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Janice is the reporter and the love interest, because we have to have a love interest, right? So after that, Lynn takes Dukes and Jackson to the arena so they can check in, and they look at Frank's invitation and they're like, hold on, you're white. You don't look like a fucking Tanaka. And I always loved this interaction with Victor Lin. The judge is telling him he's saying his Shidoshi is Senzo Tanaka. And Lin's like, what's the difference if Bruce Springs is Shidoshi? And just that whole delivery I thought was hilarious. You know what I mean? So he has to prove it, and they tell him to perform the dim mac. And then did you notice what Jackson says? He says, what the hell's a dim mac? Guy says, death touch.
Death touch.
And they have these bricks lined up, and Frank looks at Victor and says, pick a brick. And then Victor picks the top one, and before Frank hits it, the judge stops it and says, no, bottom one. What did you guys think of this sequence?
I thought it was really enjoyable. It was a wonderful introduction as to the prowessness of his skill set.
100%. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and I like the scene. It again shows his special training, that he's gone through it all, and that he apparently knows what he's doing. Now, do you know what this scene is actually famous for? What it's a callback to?
What's that?
Well, right after it happens, what does Chong Li say to him?
Brick, not hit back.
Oh, that's right. Bruce Lee, balls don't hit back.
Exactly. It comes from
Enter the Dragon.
Enter the Dragon, that also
Bolo Yeung was in.
Yes,
Bolo
he
Yeung
was.
in.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was one of the nemesis that Bruce Lee has to fight.
And what I love about, the guy who plays Chong Li, he has talked about Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee put him in a lot of movies. And I guess they were really good friends.
Yeah.
So that's really good to know kind of about this character and his background. And, I would have been honored to have him in this movie if I was the director.
He has a unique element that he brings to the screen, which is that he is a bodybuilder as well as a martial arts expert. And because he's also a bodybuilder, his physical physique, is intimidating.
He's fucking huge.
Yeah.
And when he makes that crazy face
Yeah.
with that smile, I mean, you can't get that face out of your head.
Yeah. So after he proves that he is with the Tanaka clan, they allow him to fight. He's in the tournament. We go back to the hotel. And this is where we find Janice trying to get more information on the Kumite, but this time she's talking to Hussein, one of the fighters. And, Hussein is a dick, obviously, right? Trying, he's telling her, you'll come to the room with us and you'll get your interview, but you're coming to the room. And Frank and Ray Jackson see what's going on. And so,
They
Frank
intervene.
steps in. Yeah. And this is the bit where Frank tells Hussein, if you hold out your palm and if you can close your hand before I take the coin out of it, then she's yours. But if I win, she goes with me. And do you notice Janice's expression?
Completely exasperated. I am not a piece of meat.
I know. Yeah. Right. And you know, Jean-Claude's so Jean-Claude. He just looks at her and he says, "Trust me." Right. So, and this is where we get the flashback to him catching the fish.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that he's fast, and he does it. He takes the coin, and not only takes it, but he replaces it
He
with
swaps
another.
it out.
Yeah, with another fucking coin. And you know,
I like the "you lose, American asshole." They have such great accents in this movie.
Well, you know, not only the accents are great, but you have two screenwriters on this film, right? The dialogue that came out of this film, what did these two screenwriters really do?
I think they wrote a lot of.
It sounds like he's constipated over there, doesn't it, bud?
A little.
Yeah. No, those were all Jean-Claude.
I'm wondering when they wrote the script and everything, if you actually had a copy of the script, if those, grunts and stuff are actually written in.
I'm telling you, dude, that is Jean-Claude at his finest. When the director said, "Action, you just got dust thrown in your eyes." That's all Jean-Claude. 100%.
They didn't dub that?
No, I fucking hope not, because it was fucking great.
So the fight starts and we are introduced to each one of our main characters that are going to be carrying us through this tournament.
Right. And we kind of get an idea of who's going to go to the finals. And this is also the bit where we get the song Fight to Survive by Stan Bush. For 20 points, can anybody tell me what other song Stan Bush did for a 1986, I'll even help you out, animated movie?
No.
I got nothing.
Does the line, "You got the touch," mean anything to anybody?
Yes, but I'm blanking. I used to love that song too.
You know which one I'm talking about, right?
I know what you're talking about, but I'm blanking.
You got the touch, right?
You got the power.
Transformers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Transformers with Optimus dying.
So, no, it's not when he was dying.
When he died, I'm saying the movie he died.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, one of those childhood scars right up there with Neverending Story.
So, yeah, we get this song and we get the montage and we get all the fighters doing their thing. And I love how when the names go up on the board and the next people get up to fight, Jackson gets up there and he looks at Frank and he goes, "Let me show you how it's done."
Well, here's the thing I thought was a little weird in this scene, and maybe they're told beforehand or something, but Jackson gets up and says, "Let me show you how it's done," and then his name flips up on the screen thing. So, like, he knew ahead of time he was going or something.
Maybe he had a program.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty
I feel
sure
like
about that.
you two weren't watching the same fucking film I was.
It's true, though.
Oh, okay. Well, fuck, that's just an editing error.
I think he
right?
just had a program.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the fights were already predetermined.
They were given
that
an order
could be, right? I mean, they were just throwing them up there. They have to change them. I mean, you never know. You never know. So what'd you think of Jackson's fighting style?
Well, it cracked me up that, the other guy's just hitting him, and then he just smacks the guy on the top of the head.
Well, because he's so fucking big,
Yeah.
right? He just rushes him and then pounds his nose in, and it's over.
And it's kind of funny because you look at all the other fighters who have kind of a somewhat style. He's one of the only fighters that I only think of one other who shows no martial arts techniques whatsoever.
And they're both big guys,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because the other big,
All about the brute
Japanese
force.
guy, yeah. So Ray wins, and he goes back to his seat. And I forget the order of which they all fight, and I'm sure you
Chong
guys
Li
will
is
go.
second.
Oh, so I was right. So now we get to meet Chong Li, right? And his name goes up on the board, and everybody starts chanting. And I love that Victor is kind of guiding them through, and us as the audience, of what's going on.
That's what he does
Yeah, he's the tour guide.
for the audience.
Yes.
And we learned that Chong Li was the past. Had he won just one kumite, or had he won multiple kumite?
He won the last one, is all he said.
Oh, did he? I thought he was an ongoing champion, but I could have misheard, because they all start chanting his name. And this is what I'm talking about. So Chong Li is a badass, right? And he dispatches of this guy pretty quick. And then at the end, after he wins, they all start chanting his name and he's starting to get pumped up. There is no audio coming out of Bolo Yeung. None.
It is so strange
It just looks weird, right?
because he's so pumped up about, the crowd chanting his name, and he's egging the audience on to chant his name even more, but he is silent.
So after Chung Lee, it's Frank's turn.
Well, I like the fact that Chung Lee's sequence, he breaks his own record. They give him the world record right there, but then we get Frank coming in, as you're saying.
Right. And then
It's the guy from the bar.
ironically enough, it's Hussein. And he says, now I teach you a trick or two. And was that Russian?
No, I think that was close to how he did it.
Close enough.
So Frank versus Hussein, and it's what, 7 seconds or 11 seconds? It's a new world record, and he doesn't
It was 12.2.
and he doesn't even fucking hit him, right? He puts him down on the mat, and then he just like waves at him, and Hussein passes out.
Yeah, does he use his mental force or something?
Maybe he's a fucking Jedi. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it could be. Did you know that when Hussein gets back up and comes out in the second time, what happened with the elbow throw?
You fucking hit him for real.
Hit him for real and knocked his ass out.
And that's the clip that the filmmakers used. That's him actually. If you slow it down, and you don't even really need to slow it down. You see the contact, and you see his head whip around. Yeah, fucking brutal.
Well, this is where we get the second part to an earlier foreshadowing scene in the bar when they really focused in on that gold tooth in his mouth. Did you notice that in the bar scene?
Yeah,
And of course, what's lying on the mat?
the gold tooth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So day one comes to a close.
It was kind of amusing having the montage of fights that were happening, because several times you see the hits happen. So if I swing my right foot around and I hit you right across the face, and then what do? I do not continue in the direction of the kick. I fall down in the opposite direction of the kick. That happens several times. It's like, okay.
Oh, he went the wrong way.
That's definitely one of the things I think this movie suffers from is bad editing.
Yeah, maybe. Or somebody needs to hire a fucking continuity editor.
Yeah, because there was a lot of things where, a hit would be thrown or someone have a bruise or something going on. It would disappear the next scene, and then it would reappear in the previous, the following scene.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
but I mean, no movie is ever safe from that.
Okay, but ironically, who is one of the choreographers for this movie?
Jean-Claude Van Damme?
No.
He's one of them.
Bolo Yeung?
No.
Chuck Norris?
No.
Steven Seagal.
Come on. Really?
Bruce Lee?
No.
He was
Who?
dead.
Frank Dukes.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Frank Dukes is one of the fight choreographers for this movie.
Did you know that when he first met Jean-Claude, he didn't think that Jean-Claude was good enough, so he put him through a specialized training that Jean-Claude said was the hardest training he's ever been through in his life.
Lasted 3 months.
Yeah.
Well, you got to admit, he's pretty ripped in this movie.
Who?
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh, this made me fall in love with Jean-Claude Van Damme. This one.
Now who's into that shower sequence?
It doesn't have to be the shower
I
sequence.
know, I'm just saying the muscles and the...
Man, I'm thinking, every time it shows him when he's doing all of his meditation and stuff like that, and then right before, okay, ready, and, oh, wait. Come on, somebody got here with the spray. Get the oil on him. And action.
Exactly. And and that kind of, I thought about that when in the morning before the very first round, Jackson goes to get Dukes from his hotel room, and he walks in and he's doing the splits on the chairs, and he is so fucking sweaty.
He is
what
glistening.
I mean?
He is shiny.
Yes, he is. And, I love, and that's a good bit because Ray walks in and like you were saying, he calls him out on it. He goes, man, you got to quit doing that shit. You might want to have kids someday,
But did you notice, too, that every time he was all sweaty and glistening, his hair was always nicely done and combed over. So not only did someone have to come up and spray him, but there had to be a hair person working on him as well.
Yeah, I got to tell you guys, out of all the movies that we've just watched, this being the fifth one, he's got the worst hair of all of them. You know what I mean? It can't make up its fucking mind. He's got a poof in the flashback. He's got a comb over in this one. I don't know.
Would he have been better with the mullet from Roadhouse?
Yeah, maybe.
Put the Patrick Swayze mullet on him during this?
2 words for you, bud. Hard target.
Yeah, good point.
Am I right or am I
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Dukes becomes involved with American journalist Janice Kent, who is investigating the Kumite. She sneaks into the arena by agreeing to a date with another spectator. On the second day, Jackson is matched against Chong Li. Although Jackson comes close to defeating Lee, He wastes his time gloating, allowing Lee to recover and brutally beat him. Dukes visits Jackson in the hospital and vows to avenge him. After witnessing the brutality of the tournament, Kent argues with Dukes and tries to convince him not to return. Dukes tells her that he has to win in order to become the best he can be. Helmer and Rollins arrive in Hong Kong and contact local police inspector Chen. They begin asking around for Dukes and track him down to his hotel. A chase through the downtown ensues, but Dukes evades them when they fall into the canal. When Dukes arrives at the Kumite, Helmer and Rollins are waiting for him, along with Chen and 4 of his other officers. Dukes defeats them, but agrees to return with Helmer and Rollins after the tournament. So on day 2 of the tournament, we get more fighting.
Would you call these, I mean, they were such fast clips, would you call it a montage of fighting?
I can't remember if there was a song set to this one or not.
There were there were all of the fighting montages were too like a music. It was like a music video.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah. Then I would just call them, like Professor just said, a fighting montage for sure.
Of all those little fights, did you kind of have a favorite one besides anything with Frank Dukes?
I liked Paco, like we were saying earlier. There was one where, he just beats the shit out of this guy with his knee and just will not fucking stop. And the camera gets close up on it, and the knee goes up in slow motion. It comes down, the face is all bloody. I think Paco was probably my 3rd favorite fighter.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching him.
There was 2 shorter Asian guys that I thought put on the best kind of presentation when they were doing the stepping each other's foot spots. And I thought that of all the fighting styles really showed off really well with them.
Yeah. And I also liked one of the big dudes, the other big dude, the only other big dude that's there.
Yeah.
And the guy who had like the monkey fighting style. I thought when it cut to that, I'm like, oh fuck, what a mismatch. Right? I mean, this monkey guy has no fucking chance. And I mean, he kind of held his own for a second or two, but
it made me sad to see
once
him
the big guy got him, I mean, it was fucking over.
He just crushed the life out of the monkey guy.
Yeah.
I will say that, with these fighting montages that we have on the first day and the second day, there's some very nice camera shots in here. I appreciate the low angle shots that we see. I also really enjoyed it when it had the mat, the fighting mat taking up the whole bottom of the screen, and you have each fighter on one side of the screen. And I thought that some of the choreography that they had and how they set up some of these montages, they were fun to watch, and I really appreciated the style. And it's just like, man, this inspired like a bunch of video games.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat was directly inspired by this.
Yeah, Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. In fact, in Mortal Kombat, they created a character based on Jean-Claude.
Yeah, Johnny Cage.
Mm-hmm.
He even does the splits.
Yep, and has the double punch that Jean-Claude does.
Yeah, the dim mock. This Bloodsport is probably one of my favorite fighting montage movies, if you will.
Because they're really fast. They're short, and there's a lot of them.
Again, this movie fucking moves, and that's what I like about it.
It also feels like a video game, like you're watching a video game.
I don't know about that.
I mean, nowadays, now that these games have come out, back then, maybe not, because we didn't have Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. But I felt like the characters are so over-exaggerated, their design of each one, that they all feel like video game characters.
I don't know if they're over-designed. That's all practical shit. They're really doing that martial arts stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When I think of video game, I think of more CGI, impossible stuff like you get from Ken and Ryu, right?
I just think of the characters like the little monkey guy, the big Samoan guy. They all just feel like they're so exaggerated.
I just thought it was interesting thinking about how did they find these actors?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You have a casting call and you need to be good at hand-to-hand combat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the director's saying, I mean, this is a worldwide tournament, right? We're inviting fighters from all over the world. So you have to go out and find a bunch of fighters that are different, but can still, rise to the occasion.
I am curious. How do you get an invitation? how do you get on how do you get on the mailing list for this? So the first day wraps up, and then we find out that Helmer and Rollins, they are now in Hong Kong, and they go to they find Captain Chen, and he says, I'm overworked. No, just do what you can. Just show it to your men. Turns out he gets a tip, and he lets them know he's at that Dukes is at the hotel, and so they go confront him at the hotel, and then after they confront him at the hotel, we have this silly foot chase scene.
Oh my God.
And this is our big chase scene.
I love the fucking song too. I don't know why, but it's just kind
stupidly
of a fun
catchy.
song. Yeah, it really is.
It works because of Van Damme being playful with the chase.
Yeah, I think my favorite part of that is him running, stopping, turning around, and going, "Haha, you can't catch me," and then keeps going,
like leaning against the wall.
Yeah, and you know, as soon as Jean-Claude gets to the fucking boats and starts running across the boats, you're like, "Oh, they're gonna fall in the fucking water." You know, Laurel and Hardy, har har. What'd you guys think of Forrest Whitaker?
He was fun to see in this.
He is fun to see, right?
It's kind of interesting, the character that they gave him, that he was always, you got the feeling that he must be new, or he's like just getting into, because he's the one who's always come across really brass, and anytime he feels like someone's being sarcastic, he gets angry, but then the other one kind of calms him down and is always like, okay, we'll leave, we're good, thank you for your time.
And I think Forrest, you can tell what kind of actor he's going to be, because every time he does get shut down, he has such a look of contempt on his face, like, you motherfucker, what'd you just say to me? Right. And but he conveys it really well. And I know it's silly because it's a very small bit role, but I mean, he fucking was awesome. I really enjoy Forrest Whitaker in fucking anything.
Do we know, what did he do before this, or was this one of his first roles?
This is one of his first roles.
Yeah.
So after this, we have a romantic dinner and a romantic morning with Janice.
Of course. And did you notice that we don't get to see the female form nudity in this one like we did in the other movies we've watched? It's the male. You know, do you think the director did that on purpose?
Yeah. I think that this was, all these things were to basically get the girls okay with going to the guys. The guys wanted to come see the martial arts, so bring your date along. Well, that was the candy to the girls.
So yeah, we're into day 2, and now it's time for Jackson versus Chong Li. And you know, when you first meet Frank and Ray, you kind of hope, oh God, I hope they don't have to fight each other, because you know Frank's gonna kick his ass.
Right before that, though, Dukes fights.
Who's he fight?
He fights the big guy.
Oh, he does fight the big guy. You're absolutely right. And you know, he does whatever he can to win. And this is probably one of my favorite moves from Jean-Claude. Right? The big guy goes to rush him. He drops down into his split pose and he hits him in the nards. But before that, he gives him the dimak in his fucking stomach, and the dude takes it.
Yeah. And that was impressive. And you watch him stagger and you're thinking, wait, he's going to fall over dead in just a second. But he doesn't. And he comes at him again and they hits him with the dimak again. There.
Yeah. Right in his balls. And then, you know, classic. Stands up. He's going to hit him again, but he's woozy, so he just pushes him over and the fight's over.
Very satisfying.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like, you know, besides maybe the last fight scene, this was his toughest fight.
Oh, I don't. Not at all.
You think it was Paulo?
I don't think he, maybe Paco.
Paco?
I don't think he had any tough fights.
I don't know. This one, like, he looked, you know, at one point kind of gave that surprise look when it did nothing, like, what's he going to do against this guy?
Yeah, but I don't think that made it tough for him.
Oh, okay.
I don't. Here's the problem with Dukes. He's almost too perfect.
He moves so mechanically in his fighting style. It feels robotic in a way.
Until he gets up in the air and starts swinging his feet around.
Yeah.
That dude can fucking kick. Those, I mean, cinematically and visually, Jean-Claude can throw a really nice high jumping roundhouse, right? And that's what we as the audience want to see. Mm-hmm. But everything else, I think you're right, Professor. I think there is kind of a mechanical feel to it, and just kind of a stiffness.
But
right,
it does set him apart when we watch him, because each one of these fighters look unique in their own way that they fight.
Oh, 100%.
Right? You know, when we look at each one of those characters, we recognize them for their mannerisms. Stupidly enough, for Chong Li, It's the bouncing pecs.
So here's the fight. Jackson versus Chung Lee. Right off the bat, you have to know how it's going to go down. My problem with this fight is, and this is no fault through the actors, I feel, it was written very poorly.
Jackson was an idiot celebrating.
That's what I'm talking about, right? Dukes goes into him, and Dukes is kind of being really concerned. He's like, hit him in the stomach because he's weak there, and stay away from his right leg, right? And, Jackson's like, oh, don't worry about it. And when I'm first watching this for the first time, I'm thinking, no, dude, you're going to fucking get killed. They're going to kill him. They're going to kill him.
That's
right
what
now.
I
was
really
thinking
thought he was
too.
going to die.
Yeah. But he doesn't, thankfully. But Jackson does. He gets the upper hand for like 10 seconds.
Knocks him down, and he doesn't finish him off.
But I think that scene went on for way too long. He was celebrating like for 4 minutes. It's felt like, jumping around. Frankie, I did it. I'm going to get him. I get him. And, Frank's turn around. No, it was more Arnold too, wasn't it? Yeah.
I did read somewhere that the scene where Chung Lee stomps him on the head was another thing taken from a Bruce Lee movie where Bruce Lee actually stomps someone like that and they get the same angle of looking up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It is.
It's Enter the Dragon.
So this
Right.
movie really was paid homage to a lot of Bruce Lee stuff.
And how can you not?
Because remember when the bearded guy, he's defeated in front of the school, and then he breaks the bottle and he comes at him.
Yeah.
Remember, he breaks the 2 bottles, and then Bruce Lee finishes him off with a high jump up into the
Is
air.
his shirt ripped? Or is it off by that point?
Wasn't it ripped in every movie?
Well,
No.
Professor knows what I'm saying.
It was white, and then he jumps up in the air, and he comes back down, and it's slow motion, and you hear the crunch, and then you see his face shaking a little bit.
Yep, I know exactly the scene you're talking about because that same exact clip is in The Last Dragon.
So as you were saying, though, we all thought Jackson was dead.
Absolutely.
Right. But he's not. He just gets his ass pummeled. This is another bit where, Chung Lee's all kind of excited, but he's not making any fucking noise.
He grabs off the bandana and is shaking it around.
Right. So he takes Jackson's bandana.
He
'cause
doesn't
he's a
even
prick.
growl.
He doesn't say nothing. It's not until... Oh, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we go to our hospital scene with Jackson in a coma or something.
Yeah. Well, he just got his face fucking stomped on. And you know what? For someone who just got his face stomped on,
He looks pretty good.
he looks pretty fucking
Yeah,
good.
just a little blood spot on the bandage.
Some
Nice,
blood
convenient. Yeah.
sport. Yeah. And this is where Frank and Janice get into an argument. She doesn't want to see him die, and she doesn't understand how important this is to him, and this is something that he has to do.
Well, I feel like we get 2 of our 80s action tropes right in the same place. One of them, best friend has to get beaten up or die because, our hero needs something to really fire up his rage. And the second one is that someone has to tell him to stop.
Yeah, maybe. Definitely the partner, or definitely the sidekick or whatever. And then we get a musical sequence, and, he's got to reflect, and he's got to look out the window of the subway,
He's got to do the splits again.
and he's got to see... But that centers him.
I love
dude.
the way Chung Lee looks in that reflection when he's on the train.
Right, and the way Jean-Claude snaps back to, is he really here?
He's in his head.
And you're right. He has to end it with the splits, and it has to be this shot of him overlooking Hong Kong and him looking all
Jean-Claude.
sweaty, all Jean-Claude. And now we are on to day 3. And he is making his way to the tournament. And in the meantime, Janice went to...
The police, Captain Chen.
Janice went to Captain Chen, and he told the guys, and now the police and Helmer and Rollins and Janice, I guess, are waiting for Frank as he's trying to enter into the arena. So he goes in, he beats them all up.
This was almost comical, him just going through and knocking everybody as they come out the doorways.
Yeah, it really is.
What are they thinking? What are the police thinking? We should take this fighter. We're going to apprehend him, one of us at a time, because, what else would you do with a fighter? Take him.
Yeah, a guy who's fighting in the Kumite. This is another scene and I know you disagreed earlier, but this is another thing that feels very video game to me. On any level in a video game where, you know, you're walking towards the boss guy, there's always these little guys that pop out that you have to knock down or kill along the way.
All right, that one I'll give you, because it was very just, you know, they would set him up, he would knock him down.
Mm-hmm.
He gets to the door and to the main people or whatever, and he turns the tables on him, gets their stun gun.
I love the size of their stun guns back
Oh my
there.
God, those were so funny.
Yeah. Where were they hiding those? Like, were they clipped on? Were they?
Yeah, probably.
Those are huge. You're carrying those around Hong Kong.
I know. And he tells him, you know what? You're not going to stop me. You can't stop me. I'll see you at the airport tomorrow. And so naturally, they all go to watch him.
And when they get there, hey, look at this. It's the final day, and there's 3 seats right here in the middle front. Huh.
Yeah. It's like they were saved or reserved for these people.
Yeah. Can we see your tickets? Oh, you're right there.
Oh, yeah. Right there, smack dab in the front.
Well, that, and I thought it was kind of convenient that they just tried to stop one of the top fighters from the Kumite of even getting into it. They wanted to take him down, kind of, you know, hurt the event. They still let these 3 people in to watch the show.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, they had those 2 guys at the door in the beginning that were blocking everybody unless they had special invitations and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. On the final day, Lee kills his semifinal opponent, much to the consternation of the crowd. Fearing defeat, Lee conceals a salt pill in his waistband before the final match against Dukes. When Dukes gains the upper hand, Lee blinds him by crushing the pill and throwing it into Dukes' face. Dukes falls back on his training from Tanaka, who taught him to fight blindfolded, overcome the handicap, and defeating Lee. The next day, he bids farewell to Kent and Jackson before returning to the United States with Helmer and Rollins. Roll credits. On this third day, I think he fights Paco.
Yeah. His first fight of day 3 is with Paco.
Right, because it's the final 4. And I was thinking about that in my head. So what'd you guys think about the fight between him and Paco?
I dug the trading kicks part.
Yeah, I think this was probably his most challenging fight next to Chung Lee.
Mm-hmm. You know, as they traded, you know, okay, you got a kick? Okay, well, how about this?
Right.
Okay.
And it goes back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah.
And then Dukes gets the upper hand, obviously, because he has to win. And he defeats Paco. And now we have Chung Lee and his semifinal opponent. And, you know, when they make it a point to tell you that Chung Lee killed a guy in last year's Kumite, you kind of had to expect that it was coming in this year's. And since he didn't kill Jackson, we can only assume that this poor schmuck's going to get killed. And he does. He fucking kills him.
Yeah, but did you notice that when he had the guy down and the guy was supposedly dead, his stomach was still moving?
No.
No, I didn't look.
He was still breathing. That's one of the goofs they list for this movie.
Wow. Well, I didn't notice it. So, I like the bit where after the ref realizes that his opponent is dead, he looks at the judges, and then the judges stand, and everybody stands, and they turn their backs to him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I thought that was classy, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, I was wondering at first if they were turning their backs on him or if they were just turning to face a certain direction to honor the fighter that died.
No, they're turning their backs on him because that's not called for.
Because the crowd really isn't turning their backs. They're turning just the same direction as, you know, the judges, but their tongue's still kind of
symbolic. They're turning their backs to him.
Okay.
Oh, for fuck's sakes, this guy.
I thought for sure Chung Lee was going to yell out something to the crowd, you know, for, you know, not for everybody turning their backs on him, but he doesn't.
He just does the little wave thing.
He goes over to Frank. You are next.
You break my record. Now I break you.
Well, that's before they start fighting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you're right. He does say that. So here we are, the final match.
What do you think of the design of the ring that they changed it?
I didn't really understand why. I get making the final match a bigger ring, I guess, if you will, because, I mean, let's be real. If you can just throw your opponent off the fucking mat, you win. I mean, I'm pretty sure Jackson relied on that throughout the entire tournament, right? It doesn't really matter how good you fucking are. If you can get the guy off the fucking mat somehow, you win. So all they do is they extend it and raise it.
I thought the angle of being raised was so that they get the higher jumps.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm sure that's what it was for,
Yeah, for some sort of an advantage in fighting.
Yeah. Higher ground.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Obi-Wan.
That's what I thought of.
Yeah.
I really liked this final fight scene, but it was edited so much that you really only got little clips of a punch here, and then we're edited to another scene of another kick. Frank getting tossed all over the place. Weird kind of like they show him being thrown, but they don't show him landing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is what it is, right? We also find out that Chong Li plans to cheat if he has to. He puts a salt pill in his waistband. And, Frank's kind of handling him pretty easily up until this point. He's kind of kicking his ass.
Kind of.
Yeah. And then finally, Chong Li crushes the salt pill, throws it in Frank's eyes, and now he has to fight blinded.
So why didn't the ref say anything?
Why didn't anybody say anything?
That cloud of whatever, the white salt, had to be seen by everybody.
And you can see him taking out the fucking thing and crushing it.
But I'm also wondering, they said it was full contact. Maybe there wasn't rules against it.
Yeah, maybe. And that's kind of where I was at. But, when you see it for the first time, you're like, that motherfucker's going to cheat. And he does.
Makes you wonder if he cheated in the first time around.
Oh, well, maybe. I don't know. But that dude's so fucking big. I don't know if he has to cheat against Frank because, Frank was the ultimate match. So Frank is blinded and he's got to recall and rely on his training from Tanaka. But these are the bits that we get that we were talking about earlier. And Jean-Claude's, how do I say this? Overacting-ness. What do you guys think of this whole thing?
It was odd to have combined the slow motion with those grunts and yells. I don't know how I feel about it. It always weirds me out every time I see those.
Yeah, every time I watch it, I kind of go, what the fuck were they thinking?
And I kept thinking, too, why isn't Chong Li just kicking his ass right now? Like, what, is he out celebrating? Is he pulling a Ray Jackson?
I was just going to say that. He was pulling a fucking Ray Jackson. Yeah.
That's what I thought.
So I guess in order to fight in the Kumite, if you get the upper hand, you need to celebrate for a while before you get back onto your opponent, which is weird. But anyway, it had to give Frank time to recuperate and
have a montage.
Or a flashback. So Chong Li finally decides to take advantage and takes a swing at Frank, and Frank catches it, just like he did with Tanaka's hand when they're having the blind tee. And then the beat starts to kick in, and he throws a kick, and now Frank is back. And it looks like he's blind fighting, but I feel like he can see a little bit.
They showed that he kind of could see a little bit of a blurriness.
Yeah.
Blurry lights.
Yeah.
I did like the scene where Chong Li kind of throws the ref at him and Frank almost punches the ref, but then doesn't. And back when I first saw him, I'm like, how did he know? And then I thought Chong Li was not wearing a robe or whatever, so that's how he must have known that this was not Chong Li.
Yeah, Jean-Claude makes it a point to feel his robe and like, oh, wait, you're not the fucker. So inevitably, Jean-Claude wins with a series of round kicks, which I thought were beautifully shot, but it's the same shot.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's the same shot from maybe a couple of different angles used 4 times, just to show us that Jean-Claude can do these pretty kicks. So he gets Chong Li on the ground, and, he's not going to knock him out. He's not going to throw him on the fucking mat. He's going to make him say Mate.
Now,
say uncle.
One of our things in our must-haves is, a oh crap death scene. I felt like kind of this was an oh crap defeat scene because he made the big bad give up.
I'll buy that. I'll run with that because you're right. He doesn't. It's not a death.
I mean, because
it's a defeat, though.
Yeah,
and
it's foreshadowed early on when we get to hear like kind of the 3 ways to defeat your opponent. About saying the Mate. But honestly, the first time I saw it, I didn't see that coming. So that to me, that was an oh crap moment.
Well, there you go. It's definitely big, right? I mean, Chong Li was huge. So Frank wins, makes him say Mate like a little bitch, and he gets his sword.
Yep, he wins his sword.
This is for you, Shidoshi. And then we cut to, which I think is probably, and this is going to sound silly, I think this is probably my favorite scene in this fucking movie.
Back at the hospital?
Back at the hospital.
It's a really good scene.
It really is. And you know what sells it? And you're making that fucking face, and fuck you, comic book guy. What really sells it is when they're talking to him, and he says, or Janice says, worse, he made him say Matei. And the look that Jackson gives Dukes, and Duke says, the next time you fight, try to keep your clothes on. And
he gives him.
That wasn't bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he gives him the bandana, and it's what Jackson says.
Yep.
Anytime,
anywhere.
If you ever need me, I'll be there.
Yes.
And I fucking it's something about it. I know it.
No,
you understand,
it
right?
Works.
No, I
It
will
works.
agree with you 100%. I wish they had ended it there.
Oh,
because
no. The best part's coming up, dude. I like that.
When he turns and goes, I love you, my friend.
And then he kisses him.
That, to me, that wasn't me. That was just a weird.
Why? Two guys can't show their affection and kiss each other like that because they're best friends?
No, because they only known each other for like 3 days. You
That-
can't admit you love someone in 3 days.
Why? Who says so?
Says the guy with no heart.
Okay, well, that's what I thought. Fuck this guy, right?
It did make me, with that line, want a sequel. I did want to see a Bloodsport 2 with both of them coming back.
Oh, I never wanted to see a Bloodsport 2 at all. Which is funny because we kind of got it in Kickboxer and Lionheart.
Well, they actually did make 3 more sequels to this movie. All of them, I think, went straight to video. All of them are forgettable.
And none of them are about Frank Dukes.
Yeah.
So.
Jackson, I guess, and I don't remember the second one very well, but Jackson does come back in the second one.
Oh, does he really?
Supposedly. I don't know how big of a scene it is.
Yeah, I've never seen him. No desire to. Did you know that Frank Dukes and Jean-Claude Van Damme co-wrote a movie called The Quest with Roger Moore?
And who directed that?
Was it Roger Moore?
No.
No, it wasn't Jean-Claude.
Yes, it was.
Oh, it was Jean-Claude.
Yes, it was.
Oh, yeah. Have you ever seen it?
No, but I'm strangely curious about it.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it in the theater because, again, I was a big fucking Jean-Claude nut. I don't remember it that much. I do remember the feeling of, I wish it was more.
That's a lot of Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. Can we touch base so briefly? It was amusing at the end of the fight how much, Janice, she supposedly doesn't like the fighting at all, but when he's winning and kicking somebody else's ass, she's all for it.
It's like being a fucking Broncos fan, right? When the Broncos are winning, I'm on fucking cloud 9. But when they're losing, I'll tell everybody to fucking go to hell.
Then Helmer and Rollins, they're cheering by the end of the...
Yeah! Because they know he's a badass, right? And so after the tournament, Frank is a man of his word. We cut to the airport. Rollins and...
he's not going to show.
Yeah, they're like, dude, he fucking did it to us again. And then he's already in the fucking plane.
He's at the top.
Yeah. And
always late.
and I do like the bit where she shows up and he, gives her like a salute, kind of a wave, goodbye. And then she gives him the bow. Mm-hmm. And then something about him changes. He gets serious and he bows to her. And I just thought it was a cool moment. And then we get all the accolades and then we get all the accomplishments that Frank has had since then and blah, 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 after telling the audience what he's been up to, and then we roll the credits and the movie's over.
Now, are you familiar with the controversy behind the movie Bloodsport?
That it was all bullshit? Yes.
Yeah, basically... It came out that Frank Dukes, first of all, one of the big things is he never really served in the Army full time. He was a reserve person. That there was no record of him ever winning any karate competitions. That one of the things that it stated at the end that he won something like 56 matches in one kumite competition. If that was the case, if you think about it, to win against 56 opponents in kind of a tree style competition, he would have had, basically there would have had to have been over 2 billion fights to win 56 times. There's more fights than the population on Earth, if you think of the way the tree spreads out. So there's a lot of things that just don't add up. They can't find any record of a kumite. He claimed that the kumite actually took place in the Bahamas that year. No record of that. his sensei. They can't find any record of this guy that he ever existed. In fact, what was his name? Tanaka. Tanaka is the actual first and last name was actually taken from a James Bond book by Ian Fleming. He was a character in that book. So there's just a lot of things that don't add up. One of the biggest ones was Frank Dukes sued a magazine for libel, claiming that they had called him a liar and said that he made up everything. He sued. He lost. One of the reasons he lost was one of the people produced a receipt that showed he bought his Kumite trophy.
Yeah, right. Like I said, it was all bullshit.
Yeah. So, but the more I think about it, he still gave them a good story to make a good movie.
Yeah, so I don't care that it didn't happen.
Yeah,
I was a little bummed, that it was all bullshit. Okay, whatever. The story, and the guy who wrote the story, Lettich, he even admitted he was friends with Frank Dukes, and he didn't believe him either. He thought it was all bullshit. But it sounded like a good story, and that's why Bloodsport came to be.
Mm-hmm. I thought maybe that there's probably somewhere in there a kernel of truth to what Dukes is talking about, but by and large that it's a work of fiction.
Sure. And really the only thing that it really kind of bums me out, and really the only thing that kind of bums me out about it is if that's bullshit, then so are his fighting skills. And Frank Dukes in this movie was fucking undefeated, right? I mean, he was the perfect fighter. He had no care in the world. Every time he went out into the ring, he fucking won, right? And so maybe he wasn't really that good. But then you think, well, it is a story. Mm-hmm. And he probably was telling Lettich, Dukes was probably telling Lettich these stories of, I fought this and I fought that. And like any narrator would do, make himself look good. And that's probably what they did here. And, I was going to ask you guys, we've talked about the 4 previous action heroes that we've talked about. Now let's throw in Frank Dukes, who wins in a fight.
Dukes?
Yeah, I was thinking Dukes hands down, right?
Definitely.
But if everything's bullshit, does he still win hands down?
We are talking about our character that we see in the movie. So it is a character.
Do you think he can dodge bullets or catch bullets?
I'm with you. Why? Who else dodges bullets?
Cobra shooting at him. It's just what I was thinking, that if everyone else is kind of a fighter, Cobra is more about the weapons.
But I thought we were kind of approaching this just from a fight.
Fight standpoint. Yeah. I mean, I'd like to hope Chuck Norris could give him.
He's too fast, man. I was watching that last night. I was thinking about it. Chuck Norris was a badass when he was younger. And not even that should matter, but Van Damme was too fast for Chuck Norris.
The more I think about it, David Carradine was kicking his ass for a little while.
A little bit, right.
So,
a little bit. I think he kicks Dalton's ass. I think he kicks McQuaid's ass. I think he kicks Richard's ass. And I think he kicks Cobra's ass.
Also, he seems to be the one that can take the abuse.
Yes.
Let me ask you another question.
Fire away.
If you put any of our heroes from other movies against our bad guy from this movie, Chong Li, do you think they could take Chong Li down?
I think Dalton can.
You think Dalton?
I think Cobra finds a way.
I think Dalton.
I think it's more of a. I think if it's with Richards, I think Richards lasts longer, just because he's a big guy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think him and Bolo can trade punches.
Yeah, I think with Dalton especially, Dalton's good at spotting the weaknesses. He's good at spotting, where to specifically hit someone, and he would have, just like Frank, would have spotted the weakness in the stomach.
Sure.
All right, here's a fun thought. What about if you were to take Wilkes from Lone Wolf and put him up against Chong Li from Bloodsport?
Oh, Chong Li wipes the fucking mat with him
No.
in seconds.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
In seconds.
I think Wilkes would have cheated just like Chong Li, and Wilkes would have pulled out a gun and probably shot Chong Li.
That's probably more accurate. Good question. All right, so what else can we really say about Bloodsport?
I suppose, John, you have something to do with the Lord of the Rings, a comparison or something?
Oh, dude, fuck.
I do.
And now it's time for John's precious moment.
This is the point in our podcast where I like to compare every movie we review to one of the greatest movie series ever made, Lord of the Rings. So let's just get right into it. We'll begin with our fellowship. That's made of Frank Dukes, Ray Jackson, Senzo Tanaka, and Victor Lin. Frodo is obviously our main hero, Frank Dukes. It's his journey that we are witnessing throughout the movie. So who is the lovable sidekick that helps Frodo most on his journey? Who is our Sam? That would be Ray Jackson. He's the one who early on befriends Frank. He helps him keep on his path more than once during the movie, including the time where he comes and gets him when the bus is ready, tackling the agents when Frank is about to be arrested, and actually even when he gets defeated and put into the coma, gives our Frodo that little extra bit of encouragement that helps him beat Chong Li in the end. Like Frodo's love for Sam, Frank even expresses his love for Jackson at the end of the movie. For Gandalf, I picked Senzo Tanaka. He's the one who first unwittingly put Frodo on this journey. It was his training, guidance, and encouragement that gave our hero the tools he needed to win. He serves as a teacher, a guide, and a source of inspiration for Frank. As for Agent Helmer and Agent Rollins, I see them as the Nazgul or ring wraiths. In the movie, they weren't so much after the ring specifically, but they were focused on ending our hero's journey before he could succeed. While not intentional, they were helping Sauron. If they had succeeded, Sauron would have won. Some might argue that their comical actions might put them more into a Merry and Pippin category, but not so much. At no time did they try to help our hero like Merry and Pippin. So who is our Sauron? Well, obviously, that's going to be Chong Li. He's the big bad who uses any means necessary to win his prize. He keeps an eye on our hero's progress throughout his journey. Now, what is the precious, the one ring in Bloodsport? This was a tough one. I needed to find something that had a corrupting factor on our hero, something that was bad for him, yet also useful at times. Something that had to be given up or destroyed before our hero could complete his journey. Normally, I would go for something metaphorical like greed, pride, or vanity. But in Bloodsport, it's a physical something, or should I say someone, that unintentionally is the ring. I am picking Janice Kent, the reporter doing the story on the Kumite, as our ring. In the beginning, she seemed like a good influence, a boost to our hero. But after she gets a taste of the Kumite, she runs to the police and tries to end both the Kumite and our hero's journey. If she had gotten her way, Frank would have never won. Unwittingly, she was helping Sauron, Chong Li. Therefore, that makes her the One Ring. Frank is able to overcome her interference, the corruption, in the alleyway and move ahead with his journey. It's in that alleyway that he ends the ring's effect, making that alley our Mount Doom. Like Frodo parts with the ring before returning to the Shire, Frank leaves her at the airport before returning home. And that's my comparison between Bloodsport and Lord of the Rings. Bring on the grades.
Frodo and Sam, those are very clear comparisons, absolutely. I think Tanaka also being Gandalf, yeah, I can go for that. And obviously, Chong Li is going to be Sauron. So the ring, I'm feeling pretty wishy-washy about it. So this is real tough. It's right on the border between a C+ and a B-.
Do I get any bonus points for my ring wraiths?
No.
Okay.
Not me. So, I don't know. I'll give you a B-.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Professor.
Oh, he is a lot nicer than I am. Frodo and Sam, clear, Gandalf. You said that they were you said Rollins and, was it Rollins?
Yeah, Rollins and
the two
Helmer.
agents.
Yeah. You said that Rollins and Helmer were the ring wraiths, and I could see that correlation, but the ring wraiths worked for Saruman, right? And you
For
said
Sauron.
For Sauron. But they didn't work for Chong Li. So as soon as you said that, And I'm just as soon as you said that, I thought, wow, did he just call the U.S. government Sauron?
I thought that too, to be honest, but I also thought unwittingly they are doing his bidding.
Well,
It's a hard comparison. I agree.
Oh, well, the whole thing is a hard comparison because I don't like the Ring comparison, and as I was watching it last night, I was thinking, "Fuck, what is he gonna do?" Because I couldn't find one. There's always something that the hero has to overcome or let go, like the Ring, and Frank doesn't have that. Really,
he was perfect from the start. Is the problem,
and that's kind of what I was saying earlier, right? When we were talking about the fighters, he was perfect. So, nice try, and you fucking put your time and effort into it. And I saw Chong Li more of as like an Uruk-hai, the one that fights Aragorn in Fellowship, kind of that big, and maybe it's just the stature. But I'm going to give you a solid C on that because, it still worked.
It definitely was tough coming up with the Ring because it had to be something that almost ended the hero's journey, that really stopped him from getting to, the final victory. So the only thing I could find really was Janice Kent, because when she went and tried to end the whole thing, that was the big thing. I mean, she seemed like such a good thing in the beginning, but in the end, she kind of screwed him.
And I kind of see the correlation. I see where you're going with that. So, good try. Again, this one was a hard one to do. And that was John's precious moment. All right, so what do you guys think? You guys ready to rate this bitch?
I'm ready to rate this bitch. You ready to rate this bitch?
Professor, how do we do our ratings?
We do our ratings on a scale of 1 to 5 fucks. 5 fucks is a movie that we think is cinematic gold. You're ready to watch that anytime somebody says, you want to watch that? Yes, I do. A 1 fuck movie is a movie where you're one and done. You've seen it and you have no desire to see any of it ever again because it does not interest you in any way whatsoever, draw you back to say, no, I don't want to see any of it.
And what's a 0?
A 0 is somebody owes me 2 hours of my life back. That Chuck Norris roundhouse kick I talked about last week, well, you are definitely getting a Jean-Claude Van Damme roundhouse kick that just lays you flat. Fuck, I am out.
And some salt to the eyes.
There you go. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
All right, Professor, kick us off.
All right, so when we talked about our 80s action movies, believe it or not, this was one of the first ones that came to mind for me was Bloodsport. It's a guilty pleasure watch for me, and I enjoy lots of little moments of this movie. And the acting of Jean-Claude Van Damme is dreadful. And no offense to the guy, but he is not a good actor. But his physical prowessness in this movie is impressive, and I really enjoyed watching him do his craft of martial arts. It always makes me riveted to the screen to watch how he is doing what he does. I thought that the tournament was a really fun concept for the movie. Chong Li was an excellent nemesis, the antagonist that just captivates the audience, and everybody, audience in the movie, audience watching the movie, all eyes are on him for a good reason. He is a wonderful antagonist for this movie. Janice, I thought that she was cardboard. She was nothing special to the movie, and the fact that it's based on probably fictitious events through and through, I am indifferent about it. Whether it's based on a true story or not based on a true story, I don't care. I thought that the movie in general had some good cinematography to it. The fight sequences were always interesting to watch. Having the different fight styles of each one of our different characters as revealed throughout the movie made it for an enjoyable watch. In general, it's a pretty straightforward movie. It's a fight tournament, and it takes place over 3 days. For the most part, it is nothing that I think is going to be fantastic. It is a middle-of-the-road movie in general, but I enjoyed it myself. I'm giving it 3 fucks.
3 fucks from the Professor.
Would you like me to go next?
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I'm going to start this off by doing my review Bloodsport style. So here we go. 3 3 fucks.
And 3 fucks from the comic book guy.
May I translate that review?
Fuck, do you have to?
I'd like to.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. Does Bloodsport deliver on the must-haves for a classic 80s action movie? A strong hero with quotable one-liners? Well, this is another movie where the hero does the talking mostly with his fists and feet. So, and of course, a lot of grunts and groans. So, I am not so strong on the one-liners. Crazy level supervillain that our hero can, that only our hero can beat. Chong Li does feel pretty overpowered in this movie, except when it comes to Frank Dukes. Montage, get plenty of those in this movie. Chase and fight scenes, lots of good fight scenes. Only one real chase scene, and that's an on-foot scene. A villain speech, well, short and sweet from Chong Li. A final showdown, which I thought was pretty well choreographed, maybe not the best editing. There were scenes where Van Damme's hair in that fight would go from being really sweaty and matted down to all of a sudden perfectly good again to matted down again. So again, editing hurt that a little bit, but I thought overall did a pretty good job. An oh crap death scene for our bad guy. Well, like I said earlier, I did feel oh crap when he said Mate, so the defeat kind of overcame that for me. Franchise potential, while it did spawn a lot of bad sequels, it did go on to inspire Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, 2 of my favorite games, so I gotta give it props for that. And the 90-minute runtime comes in at 92 minutes, so almost hit its mark. I remember when I was 16 years old being so excited about this movie, partly because I heard that it was not going to be shown in some theaters and it was this big risque movie. I really wanted to see it, and I was really into martial arts movies at that time. I had already seen No Retreat, No Surrender, and I wanted to know a little bit more about this Jean-Claude guy. I wanted to see him actually star in a movie, so I got my wish. After that, I admit, I actually became a big Jean-Claude fan, and I went to see all of his movies during the 80s, except for Black Eagle. I think that was the only one I didn't see in the 80s. This movie did not disappoint me back then, and it's still fun to watch today. I did find it a little bit disappointing when I found out that, this whole true story wasn't really a true story. But as we mentioned, it's a good story. It's a good movie. And even knowing that it really didn't happen doesn't really diminish from anything that the movie did bring forth for the martial arts action movies. Rewatching this movie from a critical viewpoint, it's easy to see a lot of, misedits, goofs, and a good dose of overacting. But then again, it's what I expect from a movie like this. Bloodsport is definitely in my top 5 movies for martial arts action movies. I'd even go to say that it's possibly number 2 on that list. What is number 1? Well, that's a topic for another review. But for classic 80s action movies, it falls short of some of our must-haves and didn't deliver compared to some other movies. So for that reason, I am giving Bloodsport 3 fucks. It's a top martial arts action movie, better than Lone Wolf McQuade in my opinion, but doesn't give us enough of what we expect from a classic action movie. Kumite, kumite, kumite.
What the fuck was that? All right, well, I guess it's my turn now. I remember seeing Bloodsport. Probably, I didn't see it in the theater. I know that because I was in the 8th grade when it came out. And really, I have my older brother Eric to thank for this, because he introduced me to Jean-Claude, and every movie after Bloodsport we saw together up until, I don't know, 90 something. But anyways, Bloodsport does pop into my mind as soon as you say 80s action movie, and Jean-Claude pops into my mind as soon as you say 80s action star. Was he as big as Arnold and Sly at the time? No, but he was just getting started. Jean-Claude kind of has the same problem that Arnold has. He can't really act. The language barrier, and you just can't understand what he says sometimes, and he does come across stiff and almost cardboard at times, but he's got a little bit of charisma, and I fucking tell you, those jumping kicks are pretty fucking phenomenal. The action in this movie is really nonstop. The movie goes. There's only really 3 bits where it doesn't. The beginning, where he's getting trained and the bits in between each round of the tournament. Other than that, it's fight, 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 fight. And like I've said all night long, this movie is very well paced. Not greatly edited. I mean, there's continuity issues and jump cuts, and sometimes the voices don't match. But as I was watching it last night, I kept thinking to myself, this movie was made for $2 million in 1988. Not a huge budget, right? And, I'm sure that the director and the production used some tricks to make it look at more scale than it was. But overall, it had a look and a feel very much of the old Hong Kong movies. And it kind of paid homage to those movies. Bloodsport will always be one of my favorite Jean-Claude Van Damme movies forever. Bolo Yeung, Chong Li was intimidating. Janice was your typical love interest. I really enjoyed Forrest Whitaker and the other dude who played the guys chasing him down. And Victor Lin, I enjoyed his character. He kind of brought your comic relief, and he was a fun way to narrate to us, the audience, of what was going on, how the tournament worked, so on and so forth. Is this a perfect 80s action movie? No. Is it better than some of the ones that we've already been watching? Yeah, absolutely. But for me, Bloodsport will always hold a place in my heart just because of the time of when I watched it and growing up and how many times I fucking watched it. And so for that reason, I am giving Bloodsport 3.5 fucks.
Okay, 3.5 fucks. So if we've got 2 3s and a 3.5, where does that put us on the list? What does that average out to?
3.2 fucks.
3.2 fucks overall for the Bloodsports. So 3.2 fucks.
That puts our movie in second place.
Second place behind what?
Roadhouse.
So we have in the lead Roadhouse. And then we have Bloodsport. And then we have The Running Man. And then we have Cobra. And rounding us out is Lone Wolf McQuade.
So these are our bottom 5.
Pretty much, these are our bottom 5. Yeah.
Could we have a winner out of all 10 in this batch?
I don't think so. All right, so that is going to wrap it up for Bloodsport and this episode of Three Guys in a Flick. If you are curious to know about which movie we are going to be reviewing next, please check out our website and social media pages. And speaking of which, hey, John, where can they find us?
They can always find us at our website, threeguysinaflick.com, where we post our show notes, post movie trivia, and other great podcasts. We're also available on all of social media, as well as anywhere that hosts podcasts.
And speaking of which, John, if you listen to this episode when it came out, where will we be tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow we will be at the Emerald City Comic Con, not just to have fun and look around and have a good time, but we will be also hosting our first panel on Podcasting 101. If you want to come and learn how to start your own podcast or learn some of our stories, our good and bad, we'll be hosting the podcast Friday at 2:15 in room 204.
2:15 in room 204 at the Emerald City Comic Con.
Yeah. And we may even have some items to give away to some lucky attendees.
Oh, well, there you go. I just want to go ahead and thank Zach, Ronnie, and Jill for always listening.
Thanks, Zach. Thanks, Ronnie. Thanks, Jill.
And thank you to everyone else who listens to us and puts up with us in their ears. If you're listening to us on Apple, make sure you go and leave a 5-star review. It helps the podcast grow.
I also want to throw out there that if you happen to listen to us on Podbean, please go ahead and subscribe. It helps us to kind of get, raise our ranks and get seen some more.
All right, there you go. So for Three Guys in a Flick, I'm Don.
I'm Jean.
And I'm Ken. Thanks for listening. Your opponent quits and shouts "Mate." It's like saying "uncle."
See, he wrote it down too. And how come you can do it in the accent, but I can't? Why is that okay?
Because yours was very questionably
Racist.
Yeah.
What?
Dong, 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 dong.
Is there a song there? Oh, our song? Is that what you were doing there? Yeah, keep rolling your eyes, fucker, and we'll see how far that goes.
You should start. Actually, you know what you should do is play our music, but have the Kumite thing in the background. Kumite, as our music's going.
Do you hear yourself when you suggest things? I'm just curious.
One of those childhood scars, right up there with Never-Ending Story.
Oh my God.
The horse scene.
What's the name of the horse?
Well, the Treyu's the kid.
Yes.
What is the horse's name?
Sorry, Professor, we digress.
Really? Is that what this is?
Hey,
Doesn't matter. He drowns.
Hey, watch your fucking mouth.
Habit.
You can just start off with. So now, if you want to know what our next
Can
movie
I?
is,
Can I fucking do it?
giving you a lead.
He always gets so mad.
You notice he gets angrier and angrier as the podcast goes on.
You know what it is? I just get more tired and tired. I think when I get tired, I get grumpy. Or maybe I'm just always grumpy.
I'll say, so you're always tired.
Yeah, there you go.
So you don't think that maybe she might have done the dirty deed to be that guy's arm candy?
Oh, you're talking about the other dude after she boned Frank?
Yes.
I think she might have done a little
sweet talking.
a little handy hand, maybe. a
little flirting.
handy. Yeah. She probably gave him a little handy. So I wouldn't put that past her.
The one
Listeners, not that there's anything wrong with that.
there kind of is.
What, giving a handy to get your way?
To get into a show, yeah.
You wouldn't give a handy to get into a show?
It has to be an awfully good show.
But you would do it. That's my point. Right?
Well, I did it to get on this podcast.
Well, there you go. There you go. And the professor thanks you every day. All right, fuck off. Good night.